The neon lights of New Terra's lower districts flickered against the perpetual twilight, casting long shadows across the debris-strewn alleyways. Ava crouched beside a rusted dumpster, her small hands sorting through discarded metal fragments with practiced efficiency. At 12 standard years old, she had become an expert at identifying which scraps the recycling centers would accept and which were worthless. Her worn jacket, 3 sizes too large, hung from her thin frame like a tent, its pockets bulging with the day's meager findings. She didn't notice the man watching her until his shadow fell across her pile of salvage. "That's a pretty good haul you've got there," a deep voice said. Ava's head snapped up, her body tensing for flight. A tall man stood a respectful distance away, his hands visible and empty. He wore the practical coveralls of a dock worker, and his weathered face held an expression she couldn't quite read, something between concern and sadness. Beside him stood a boy, perhaps 8 or 9 years old, clutching his father's hand and staring at her with wide, curious eyes. "I'm not stealing," Ava said quickly, her voice defensive. "This is public waste. Anyone can take it." "I know," the man replied gently. "I'm Aiden. This is my son, Marcus. We live a few blocks from here." Ava said nothing, merely watched them with the wary eyes of someone who had learned that kindness often came with conditions. Aiden crouched down, bringing himself to her level. "How long have you been out here?" "I manage fine," she replied, her chin lifting despite the tremor in her voice. "I'm sure you do." Aiden's tone held no condescension, but managing and thriving are different things. "When was the last time you had a hot meal?" Ava's stomach betrayed her. Growling audibly, she pressed a hand against it, embarrassed. "Look," Aiden continued, "I'm not going to pretend I understand everything you've been through, but I know what it's like to be alone. Marcus and we lost his mother 2 years ago. Some days, this city feels like the loneliest place in the galaxy." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "We have a spare room. It's not much, but it's warm, clean, safe. Do you want to come home?" The question hung in the air between them like a fragile thing. Ava had heard promises before from shelter workers who couldn't keep her safe from the older kids, from social workers who disappeared into bureaucratic mazes, from strangers whose kindness evaporated when she became inconvenient. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. But something in Aiden's eyes made her hesitate. Maybe it was the way he'd crouched down to speak to her as an equal. Maybe it was the boy beside him, who looked at her not with pity, but with genuine interest. Or maybe it was simply that she was tired so deeply, profoundly tired of being alone. "Just for tonight," she heard herself say. Aiden's home was a modest apartment on the 20th floor of a residential tower. It was nothing like the gleaming spires of the upper city, but to Ava, it felt like a palace. The living space was cluttered with Marcus's toys and Aiden's engineering projects, but it was undeniably lived in, warm, and safe. That first night, Ava sat at an actual table and ate actual food, not nutrient-based or stolen rations, but a home-cooked meal that Aiden had prepared. She ate slowly, trying not to seem desperate, though her body screamed for more. "You can have seconds," Aiden said quietly. "There's plenty." Marcus chatted throughout dinner about his school, his friends, and the model spaceship he was building. Ava found herself relaxing despite her intentions to remain guarded. One night became 2, then 3, then a week. Aiden never pressured her, never demanded gratitude or explanations. He simply provided food, shelter, and something Ava had almost forgotten existed: stability. She learned that Aiden worked double shifts at the spaceport, maintaining the massive cargo haulers that ferried goods between planets. He'd always dreamed of exploring the stars himself, but life had taken him in a different direction. Now, he poured that wanderlust into Marcus, teaching him about distant worlds and alien species, fostering a curiosity that might one day carry the boy beyond New Terra's atmosphere. Ava also learned that humans possessed a peculiar quality that puzzled the galaxy's other sentient species, an almost reckless capacity for compassion. While most civilized races cared for their own genetic offspring and maintained social contracts within their communities, humans regularly extended kindness to strangers, to those outside their tribes, even to members of other species. The Zentari, who dominated galactic commerce, called it inefficient emotional expenditure. A warrior race, considered a dangerous weakness, but Ava was beginning to understand that humanity's strength lay precisely in this supposed weakness, in their willingness to see potential family in the faces of strangers. 2 months after that first meeting in the alley, Ava sat in a government office, her hand clasped in Aiden's, as a bureaucrat processed her foster placement paperwork. Marcus bounced excitedly in the waiting area, already planning how they'd rearrange Ava's room to make it really hers. "You're sure about this?" Ava whispered to Aiden, still unable to fully believe this was real. Aiden squeezed her hand. "I've never been more sure of anything. You're family now, Ava. That's not temporary. That's forever." As they left the building together, Aiden, Marcus, and Avashi realized that the galaxy might never understand humanity's peculiar insistence on caring for the abandoned, the lost, the forgotten. The other species might continue to view it as irrational, even foolish. But Ava understood. She understood that humanity's true power wasn't in their technology or their military might. It was in moments like these, when a single dad, working double shifts, looked at a scrap-gathering girl in an alley and saw not a burden, but a daughter. When a species collectively decided that no child should face the universe alone. That was the kind of strength that could change worlds. That was humanity. And now, Ava was proud to be part of it.